Hi everyone. If you watched some of my previous videos, you've seen this before. It's my rather crudely built bird table, but it's working out very well. I'm using it as a two-tier bird table now, especially when there's no snow or anything. If you can see on top there, I also put seed on the top. That way more birds can use it at the same time. But what I'm about to do is to make my own suet cakes. These things on the side here are suet cake holders. And those two cakes are boughten ones that are in it now. I've thought various times in the past about making my own and never did bother to look into it, but I visited with friends in St. Stephen, New Brunswick, a few days ago, and they make their own. Not only is it economical, but my concern has always been how old are they when you buy them in the store? They're made of suet or fat or whatever, and I would think would go rancid in a warm store because they're never kept refrigerated. I always make sure I buy them in larger stores in their pet department because I feel there's probably more turnover there. They haven't been sitting around quite so long. But if I make my own, I know how fresh they are. So I'm just about to buy the ingredients and put them together. Well, it's not a very complicated process, obviously, to make this, but I was reading online and read several recipes, and this is just sort of a compilation of several of them put together, just using the ingredients that I happen to have, I guess. This is a commercially bought suet cake, and they come in this little plastic container. I always take them out of that before I put them out in the feeder. But I only have one left in my freezer, so what I'm going to use that as the mold to make my cakes, because I know that this fits perfectly inside of my suet holder. And I'll just put this back in the freezer and use it when I need to use it. I was also glad to see online that you don't have to use suet to make a suet cake. That sounds silly. But basically what you're after is fat for energy for the birds in the cold weather, and it said that you could use lard or a vegetable shortening if you're vegan or vegetarian or whatever. Well, I am vegetarian. I don't eat meat, but I don't have any qualms about other people who eat meat. I do prefer the ethical treatment of animals, and I just don't happen to eat them myself, I guess. So what this is lard, rendered pork fat, and I will melt it in a double boiler. And the ingredients that I'm going to add is one of these measures of the same wild bird seed mixture that I use to feed the birds. Some raisins. I just happen to have the last bit of some slivered almonds, so this is going to be sort of a gourmet suet block. It's going to have some slivered almonds in it. And then a good dollop of peanut butter, probably close to a cup of peanut butter. And I'm using the crunchy variety that has the peanuts in it. I thought that would also be a little something added. Anyway, once I've got this starting to melt and adding these things to the double boiler, I'll show you what that part of it looks like. While the lard was melting in the double boiler, I thought of something else that I guess I will add. This is, well, I guess 3/4 of a cup. This is the scratch feed that I give my hens as a treat. It's a 4-grain scratch feed. And I know one of them is corn, is why I wanted to add it. My bird feed doesn't have any corn in it. But I think it's wheat, oats, corn, and barley possibly. Anyway, it's a 4-grain scratch feed, so I'm adding 3/4 of a cup of that. Whatever these measures are of bird seed. So maybe it's even a little more than 3/4 of a cup. The slivered almonds. The raisins. It's already quite nice and thick. Certainly lots more material in that than there are in the commercially bought ones. And lastly here I'll add some peanut butter. close to a cup of peanut butter. Continue to stir this until the peanut butter dissolves and melts in. And then I will show you what it looks like when I put it in the mold. Well, what's that thing about the best laid plans of mice and men or whatever? Well, the original container that I was going to use for a mold evidently has a crack in it. I started filling it and it started running out onto the plate. Thankfully I had it on a plate. So I have come up with a few other freezer containers here that have bottoms that are roughly the same size that will still work in my feeder. Just slightly different shapes, some of them I guess, but should still work quite well. Put that one too full because that's a bit higher sided. And I will let those congeal in the freezer and show you what the finished product looks like. I've got enough left in the saucepan there to make one or two more, so I'll keep that from hardening up while these are congealing in the freezer. Well, I think I'm quite pleased with how they turned out. Certainly more seed in them than there is in the commercially bought ones. They've been in the freezer for a few hours, so they're not only congealed, but they're frozen right now. But that's how I like to keep them anyway, even when I buy bought ones. I like to keep them fresh by keeping them frozen. So anyway, I will put one of these out and we'll see what the birds think of it. Well, it's February 1st. We have a light rain. We've had some snow. Now it's hopefully all going to rain off. I just brought out one of my suet cakes and put it in that cage. The other one I put the two partially eaten ones in there together. I was hoping while I was standing here one of the chickadees would come right over to the feeder. They've been coming over even while I was putting the suet cake in. Flying around here, but here's one. Anyway, I think what they're interested in right now is some of the sunflower black oil seeds. Nobody seems to be getting on the suet, but thank you for watching, and I hope you give it a try. I think these are much more economical than the bought ones, and you know that they're fresh. Also, when I added the peanut butter into the hot oil, they smelled good enough to eat.